This man loves you so much, but he has another woman who. My beloved child, before you do anything else, listen with your whole heart, because this message is not arriving by accident. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is a question that has lived quietly inside your heart for longer than you admit. If this man truly loves you, why does another woman still stand somewhere in his story? Why has every sign felt so confusing? Why do his actions sometimes whisper your name while his circumstances seem to tell a completely different story? Today, the silence begins to break. But the truth is not what anyone around you expects. What is about to be revealed has remained hidden behind ordinary conversations, forced smiles, and moments that looked meaningless to everyone else. Yet nothing has been meaningless. Every delay has been collecting pieces of a puzzle that only now is ready to be seen. Don't skip, because every sentence matters. The answer you have been searching for does not begin with betrayal. It begins with a promise that was never spoken aloud. This man carries feelings for you that have refused to disappear, even when he convinced himself they would. He has tried to focus elsewhere. He has tried to tell himself life had already chosen another direction. He has smiled when people expected him to smile. He has nodded when people assumed they understood his future. But deep inside, there has always been one space that remained untouched, one place no one else could reach. That place still remembers you. The other woman exists, but not for the reason your fears keep repeating to you. There is a hidden chapter behind her presence that no one has fully understood. Everyone looking from the outside believes the story is already finished. They believe decisions have already been made. They believe hearts never change once life moves forward. But appearances have never carried the whole truth. Behind closed doors, behind ordinary evenings, behind conversations no one else heard, something has been shifting little by little. Every passing day has made him question everything he once believed was certain. Don't skip, because the biggest revelation has not arrived yet. There was a moment recently when he found himself completely alone. The room was quiet, but his thoughts were louder than ever before. Memories arrived without permission. Not because he wanted them to. Not because he searched for them. They simply appeared, reminding him of a connection he has never been able to replace. He tried pushing those memories away, but the harder he resisted, the stronger they became. He realized that some people can be forgotten, but one soul leaves fingerprints on the heart forever. And that realization frightened him because it forced him to face something he had avoided for so long. The woman beside him noticed the distance growing even before he admitted it to himself. She could sense that his smile was becoming heavier. His silence became longer. His eyes often wandered somewhere far beyond the conversation. She wondered what had changed, but even he could not explain it. How could he describe something that had no simple words? How could he explain that love sometimes returns quietly instead of loudly? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is one detail no one has shared with you. During an ordinary conversation, someone unknowingly mentioned your name. The room became silent for only a second, but inside him, time completely stopped. His heartbeat changed. His thoughts scattered. He answered casually so no one would notice, yet the moment stayed with him long after everyone forgot it had happened. That single mention reopened a door he thought had been locked forever. Since that day, he has begun asking himself questions he avoided for months. What if the feelings never disappeared? What if distance only covered them instead of ending them? What if the heart had been waiting for the courage the mind never found? Don't skip, because the next revelation changes everything. The other woman has become part of a lesson rather than the ending. She represents the life everyone expected him to continue living. Safe. Predictable. Comfortable. But love has never obeyed comfort. Genuine feelings refuse to disappear simply because circumstances become complicated. Every day he finds himself comparing moments without realizing it. A conversation reminds him of you. A place reminds him of you. A familiar song unexpectedly carries him back to emotions he thought were buried. These moments arrive suddenly, and each one quietly weakens the walls he built around his heart. He never planned for this to happen. Yet here it is, growing stronger with every passing day. Something even more surprising happened recently. Someone close to him noticed the change before he did. They asked a simple question, one that sounded ordinary to everyone else. But inside him it echoed like thunder. "Are you truly happy?" He answered too quickly. The words left his mouth before his heart agreed with them. That was the moment he realized he had been performing happiness instead of living it. From that day forward, everything began changing inside him. Stay till the end, because you have not reached the greatest revelation yet. There is another truth that remains hidden beneath everything you have heard so far. The other woman is beginning to recognize that something feels different. She cannot explain why conversations no longer carry the same warmth. She notices that his attention drifts somewhere she cannot follow. She feels the emotional distance increasing without understanding its source. This is not about anger. This is not about blame. It is about two people slowly realizing that something essential has been missing all along. Meanwhile, you may have believed nothing was happening. You may have assumed your story had already ended. But unseen changes rarely announce themselves in the beginning. They grow quietly until one unexpected day everything becomes impossible to ignore. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you. Every delay has been preparing a revelation that could never have happened earlier. Timing has been arranging conversations, emotions, and realizations one piece at a time. Soon, someone will say something that cannot be taken back. Soon, one decision will begin a chain of events that changes every relationship connected to this story. The question is no longer whether feelings exist. The real question is what he will choose to do once he finally accepts the truth he has spent so long running from. And what happens after that is something no one around him is prepared to witness. That he could ignore other people's opinions. He could silence outside voices. He could even convince himself that time would eventually erase what he felt. But there was one thing he could never escape: his own heart. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Every morning he woke up believing he would finally stop thinking about you, yet before the day ended, another unexpected reminder appeared. It could be a familiar place, a certain fragrance, a song playing softly in the background, or a simple conversation that unexpectedly carried your memory into the room. None of these moments were planned, yet each one quietly dismantled the emotional walls he had spent so long building. The more he tried to move forward without looking back, the more life gently turned his attention toward the connection he had never truly released. That frightened him because he finally understood something he had refused to admit. Real love does not disappear simply because circumstances become complicated. It waits patiently until the truth becomes impossible to deny. Don't skip, because the next part reveals what almost no one knows. There was an evening when everyone around him believed he was enjoying himself. He smiled politely, answered questions, and laughed at the right moments, but inside his thoughts were somewhere completely different. He looked across the room and realized something unexpected. He was surrounded by people, yet he felt completely alone. The other woman noticed his silence again. She asked if everything was all right. He smiled and quietly answered yes, but the answer carried no peace. His heart knew it was pretending. That single moment stayed with him long after everyone had gone home. He sat alone later that night, replaying conversations in his mind, wondering why your memory still carried so much weight. He asked himself questions that had no easy answers. Why now? Why after all this time? Why does one person still have the power to awaken emotions no one else could reach? Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. Around the same time, someone unexpectedly mentioned that you seem different these days. They said you looked stronger, calmer, and more focused on your own path. Those words struck him more deeply than anyone realized. He had secretly imagined that perhaps you were still waiting exactly where he had left you emotionally. Hearing that you had continued growing without him filled him with emotions he could barely understand. Part of him felt proud. Another part felt afraid. He suddenly realized that life would not pause forever. Opportunities can quietly disappear while someone hesitates too long. That realization became impossible to ignore. Don't skip because another hidden truth is about to surface. The other woman slowly began asking herself questions as well. She could sense that his attention wandered somewhere beyond everyday conversations. It was not because he treated her badly. It was because something inside him no longer responded with the same certainty it once had. She noticed the pauses before he answered. She noticed how often he seemed lost in thought. She noticed that his smile reached his lips but rarely reached his eyes. Although no one had spoken the truth aloud, everyone could feel that something invisible had started changing. Emotional distance rarely appears in one dramatic moment. It grows quietly until even ordinary silence begins saying more than words ever could. Meanwhile, you may have believed that nothing connected your lives anymore. You may have looked at your own journey and wondered if every chapter involving him had already ended. But hidden beneath the surface, circumstances were rearranging themselves one conversation at a time. Every unexpected memory, every quiet realization, every unanswered question was preparing him for a decision he could no longer postpone forever. Stay till the end because the biggest shift has not happened yet. One afternoon he found something completely by accident. It was not a message. It was not a photograph. It was simply something ordinary that instantly reminded him of you. The memory returned with such clarity that he had to stop everything he was doing. For several minutes he simply stared into space while old emotions flooded back stronger than ever before. He remembered conversations that once felt ordinary but now seemed priceless. He remembered laughter that had echoed in places no one else could understand. He remembered the peace he felt simply knowing you existed somewhere in the world. That realization shook him because he suddenly understood that what he missed was not merely the past. He missed the version of himself that only appeared whenever you were close. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you. Since that day, his heart has become restless. He continues moving through daily responsibilities, yet his mind keeps returning to one unanswered question. What if he allowed fear to make the biggest decision of his life? What if he confused obligation with destiny? What if he walked away from the one connection that could never truly be replaced? Those questions refuse to leave him alone. Every attempt to silence them only makes them louder. The other woman can sense this internal struggle even if she does not fully understand its cause. She recognizes that he is standing at an emotional crossroads, one where every choice carries consequences. Yet she still cannot see the entire picture because the deepest battle is taking place inside his own heart. There is another revelation you have not heard. Recently, someone unexpectedly encouraged him to be honest with himself. They did not know your story. They did not mention your name. They simply said, "The hardest prison is pretending you feel something you no longer feel." Those words echoed through his thoughts long after the conversation ended. It was as if life itself had placed a mirror in front of him, forcing him to see the truth he had spent so long avoiding. From that moment onward, he could no longer comfortably return to the emotional routine he had been living. Every day since then has felt different. Every silence has carried greater meaning. Every memory has become more vivid. Every unanswered feeling has demanded attention. Don't skip because what happens next will surprise even those closest to him. He is beginning to understand that the presence of another woman never erased what his heart quietly protected all along. It merely delayed the moment when he would finally confront it. And now that moment is drawing closer than ever before. Soon, an unexpected conversation will place him in front of a choice he can no longer avoid. Soon, someone will ask a question that reaches directly into the place where he has hidden his real feelings. His answer will determine far more than anyone realizes. It will not only affect his future. It will reveal whether he is finally ready to stop living according to appearances and start following the truth his heart has been whispering since the very beginning. And when that conversation finally begins, everyone will expect one outcome, but what actually happens next will leave every assumption completely overturned. The days that followed became strangely different, although almost no one around him noticed the change at first. Outwardly, everything looked familiar. He continued answering calls, attending conversations, smiling when people expected him to smile, and moving through his routine exactly as before. But inside, a quiet storm had already begun. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Every ordinary moment now carried an extraordinary question. Every decision felt heavier than the last because his heart had finally stopped pretending that nothing had changed. The truth had started rising to the surface, and once truth begins to move, it refuses to stay hidden forever. One evening he found himself staring out of a window as the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon. The silence around him felt unusually deep. He remembered a conversation from long ago, one that had seemed completely ordinary at the time. You had said something simple, yet those words suddenly returned with unexpected clarity. They echoed through his thoughts until he realized he could still remember not only what was said but exactly how it made him feel. That realization shook him. Time had erased countless memories from his life, but it had failed to erase you. Don't skip because another hidden layer is about to unfold. The other woman continued believing everything would eventually return to normal. She assumed his quietness was temporary. She thought stress, responsibilities, or exhaustion were creating the distance she felt. She never imagined that his heart had begun revisiting emotions from a chapter he believed was already closed. She noticed him becoming thoughtful during conversations. Sometimes he would begin answering a question, then stop halfway as though another thought had interrupted him. She asked if something was bothering him, but he simply smiled and changed the subject. The truth was not easy for him to explain because he barely understood it himself. How do you explain that one person can quietly remain inside your heart even after life takes unexpected turns? How do you explain that no matter how many new chapters begin, one unfinished sentence continues asking to be completed? Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening in your own journey as well. Without realizing it, you had become stronger. You had learned to carry your own peace instead of waiting for someone else to provide it. You had stopped chasing answers that never arrived. You had slowly begun rebuilding parts of yourself that once felt broken. Ironically, it was this quiet transformation that created the greatest shift. Love often begins moving again only after both hearts have changed enough to recognize its true value. Far away, he heard another unexpected piece of news about you. Nothing dramatic. Nothing shocking. Just a simple update. But sometimes the smallest pieces of information create the biggest emotional earthquakes. Someone casually mentioned that you seemed genuinely happy. Those few words remained with him for days. Happy. That single word forced him to imagine a future where you no longer needed him at all. For the first time, losing the possibility of you became real instead of theoretical. That realization filled him with emotions he could no longer ignore. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you. Later that week, he opened an old notebook while searching for something completely unrelated. Hidden between its pages was a small reminder from another season of his life. It had no great value to anyone else, but to him it unlocked a flood of memories. Suddenly he remembered how easily conversations once flowed between you. He remembered laughing without pretending. He remembered feeling understood without needing long explanations. He quietly closed the notebook and sat in complete silence. No television. No phone. No music. Only his thoughts. And for the first time in a very long while, he admitted something to himself that he had never spoken aloud. I never truly stopped caring. The words never left his lips. But his heart heard them clearly. Stay till the end because the next revelation changes everything. The other woman slowly realized that something important had shifted. She began asking deeper questions. Not because she wanted conflict. Because she genuinely wanted honesty. She sensed that pretending would only delay the inevitable. One evening she looked directly at him and quietly asked, "Is there something you're not telling me?" For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Silence became louder than words. He wanted to answer honestly. He wanted to explain everything. Yet he knew that once certain truths are spoken, life can never return to the way it was before. So once again, he remained silent. But silence itself had already become an answer. Don't skip because another unexpected moment is approaching. A few days later, he crossed paths with someone connected to your past. The conversation lasted only a few minutes. Nothing extraordinary happened. Yet before leaving, that person smiled and said something almost casually. Some people never really leave your heart, do they? Those words struck him with unbelievable force. He looked surprised. He wondered whether his feelings had become so obvious that other people could already see them. From that moment onward, hiding became much harder. Every emotion he had buried seemed determined to rise again. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. For nights afterward, sleep became difficult. Whenever the world became quiet, his thoughts became louder. He imagined different possibilities. He imagined conversations that never happened. He imagined choices he wished he had made differently. Most of all, he imagined what life might have looked like if fear had never entered the story. Regret has a strange way of arriving quietly. It rarely appears all at once. Instead, it grows one memory at a time until it becomes impossible to ignore. That is exactly where he now finds himself. Standing between the life everyone expects him to continue living, and the truth his heart refuses to abandon. Don't skip. The biggest revelation is getting closer. There is one final piece he has not yet discovered. He still believes he has plenty of time. He assumes tomorrow will always exist. He believes another opportunity will eventually appear. But life has already begun arranging events that will challenge that belief. Very soon, an unexpected meeting. An unplanned message. Or a single conversation. Will force him to face the one question he has avoided longer than any other. If the woman standing beside him is not the one his heart continues searching for, then how much longer can he continue pretending? The answer to that question will not stay hidden forever. Because sometimes destiny waits patiently. But once it decides the moment has arrived, nothing can stop the truth from finally coming into the light. And the conversation that is now drawing closer will not simply reveal what he feels. It will reveal who he is truly willing to fight for when every excuse finally disappears. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The moment he had unknowingly been moving toward for so long finally arrived, not with noise, not with a dramatic announcement, but with a quiet opportunity that seemed completely ordinary to everyone except him. Life often changes through the smallest moments, and this was one of them. He found himself standing alone once again, carrying every unanswered question that had followed him for months. This time, however, something inside him refused to remain silent. The excuses that had protected him for so long no longer felt convincing. The comfort of pretending suddenly became more painful than the uncertainty of telling the truth. For the first time, he accepted that he could continue living the life everyone expected, or he could finally become honest with himself. He could not have both. That realization brought an unexpected sense of peace. It was not because every problem had disappeared. It was because the battle inside him had finally ended. He no longer needed to wonder where his heart belonged. He already knew the answer. The only question remaining was whether he would have the courage to act before another opportunity slipped away forever. Stay till the end because something huge is waiting for you. Around the same time, the other woman quietly reached her own understanding. She realized that genuine affection cannot be forced and that true emotional connection cannot grow where the heart is already looking somewhere else. There was no dramatic confrontation, no shouting, no scene that everyone remembered. Instead, there was honesty. Sometimes the strongest endings arrive with calm voices instead of loud emotions. They spoke openly about the distance that had slowly grown between them. They acknowledged the changes neither of them could ignore anymore. They accepted that holding on simply because it felt familiar would never create the future either of them truly deserved. That conversation became the beginning of two separate journeys instead of one shared path. It was not built on resentment. It was built on acceptance. And acceptance often opens doors that fear keeps locked for years. Don't skip because the greatest revelation has finally arrived. After that conversation, he walked outside and looked toward the evening sky. For the first time in what felt like forever, he experienced silence without confusion. He realized he had spent so much time asking what everyone else wanted that he had forgotten to ask what his own heart had been saying all along. The answer had always been there. It had been waiting patiently beneath layers of responsibility, hesitation, and uncertainty. Your memory had never disappeared because it was never supposed to disappear. It had remained alive, quietly guiding him back toward the truth whenever he wandered too far away from it. Every reminder, every unexpected thought, every ordinary moment that carried your name had not been coincidence. They had been gentle invitations to stop running from what mattered most. Stay till the end because this final message is meant for you. If you have spent countless nights wondering whether someone can truly care while life becomes complicated, remember this story. Feelings alone are not enough. What gives love meaning is the courage to choose honesty when pretending would be easier. Real love is not measured by perfect timing or perfect circumstances. It is measured by the willingness to face the truth with integrity, compassion, and respect for everyone involved. Sometimes people need time to understand their own hearts before they can make decisions that align with them. Growth is rarely instant, but genuine clarity changes everything once it arrives. Perhaps today you are standing in your own season of waiting. Perhaps you have asked questions that seem to have no answers. Perhaps you wondered if silence meant the end. Yet not every silence is empty. Sometimes it is the place where courage is quietly growing. Sometimes it is the space where people become honest enough to transform their lives. Whatever chapter you are living, never underestimate the power of truth revealed at the right moment. The future is not written by fear. It is shaped by choices made with sincerity, wisdom, and hope. So keep moving forward with confidence. Keep protecting your peace. Keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. If someone is truly meant to walk beside you, they must arrive with an honest heart, not hidden behind confusion or pretense. The greatest relationships are built on openness, trust, and mutual respect, and those foundations are worth waiting for. Don't skip this final reminder. Something huge was never just the revelation about him. The greatest revelation is about you. You are not defined by uncertainty. You are not defined by someone else's hesitation. Your value has never depended on another person's decision. The right connection begins where honesty meets courage, and no temporary delay can erase what is meant to grow with truth. As one chapter quietly closes, another begins with greater clarity than before. The unanswered questions no longer hold the same power because understanding has replaced confusion. Whatever tomorrow brings, let it be met with hope instead of fear, confidence instead of doubt, and faith instead of uncertainty. Sometimes the ending we expected is not the ending we receive, because life has been preparing a better beginning all along. And that better beginning starts the very moment truth is finally welcomed instead of avoided.